Hello, it's John 35 again. I thought I'd bring you something a little bit different. I've shown you a few of the G1s I've got. Still got quite a lot more of them. We'll get round to doing different reviews of different figures at some point, but I thought I'd show you something newer I'd got. I picked this one up from Tesco's a few weeks back, very cheaply. They were selling off the line, it was on the reduced line, and very pleased with it. It's a very nice figure. It's sidearm sideswipe, a repaint of the original sideswipe with a little bit of moulding difference, obviously, with the fact that it's got the guns rather than blades. Comes in his packaging, which is, I'll reverse that around so you can see the back, which is very nice, again, nicely packaged. And it's the Hunt for the Decepticon line rather than Dark of the Moon, which is more out now. I've taken out these box. Stick that back there. Now, basically, as I say, difference is he's got two handguns which are out of the roof. You can detach them. You will have to anyway for the transformation. They just peg on the underside. There's lots of nice detail on this figure, even in, I don't know if you can see in there, even in the fact that there's even struts. If I move my finger around behind, you can see the struts even inside these sections where the guns fit on, which I think is really nicely detailed. It's not something they really needed to do, or even really particularly for strength. It could have been a solid moulding, but they've done it on this figure. You can fold those down and make the car more just a standard looking vehicle. Very nice paint job on this figure as well. I do like the red on it, although it's not film accurate. I do think it adds a little bit of difference to it, a little bit livens it up, a little bit reminiscent of, say, like with Hot Rod and Rodimus figures in that sense. Okay, I'll start to transform in now. First things first, trying to remember now because it's quite a confusing figure at times. Swing out the doors and they hinge to the back. You can pull the front apart and those will become his arms. And you need to get this out to the side, out of the way. And you swing down the underside of the car, which is pegged in, and that fits round to the bonnet. Now these obviously become his legs, and he's got feet at the bottom, which you've got a heel spur and a toe, which need to be folded in both directions. Now at the minute this is quite flappy about, so what you have to do is hinge the bonnet, and that hinges back and actually tabs in firmly in the section underneath here, and you hear the click, and that's solidly stood there. Now what you now have to do is swing the back up, and this is where it gets a little bit confusing, and you actually turn the whole back section round, which reveals his head out the top of the roof section. Now this is always a bit of a pig to get out. I often have to resort to getting the fingernail in there, but the problem is as you do that his chin goes down and he won't let you get his head out. Let's see if I can get hold of it. Problem is, being pointed, it doesn't actually like to be grabbed. Oh, it is a fiddly thing. It is a bugger. Some of these newer toys, they make it so fiddly. I do wonder. I know kids have got smaller hands than me, but it is very, very difficult to get out. And yet other times it will just sort of pop nicely up. But it's not sprung loaded, which I find peculiar. Having a bit of a fail here. Cut. Oh dear. I might cut this bit in a sec and then come back to it if I can't get it out. Right, finally got there. Sorry about that. Right, now his head's actually out of the top of his roof. you now can concentrate back on the rear part of the bodywork. Now this piece is actually moved as I've been trying to do it. Now you swing this would be his groin area and his lower abdomen, so you lift up the top, swing this section up, and this whole section swings down over his head and clicks into place there, and that forms his basic upper torso. Now swing the back piece of the car down with the exhaust pipe sort of parts, and that's double hinged on this piece, and that swings down and back, and that forms his back that way. Now basically you're almost there, but on the front sections of the car to form his arms you have to swing the grille round, and then you swing his hands out towards the front, and then that swings down and round to the side, and that's got to be repeated on both sides. So again, out, round, swing his hand out, down and round, and that forms his arms. And his doors go to the back of his body, and his arms can swing up in position then, so, and they click up into position, so he's held firmly in his correct position for his shoulders. Now it is a really good figure. Again, he can hold his guns, and a small thing what I noticed on the packaging, which as the guns come like that and you think, oh well, that's not quite how they appear in the packaging, but there is a small piece what swings down, and it's almost like a magazine or another part of the gun, like another grip. It just helps add a little bit of I suppose style, a little bit of variety to the weapon, that you don't see it in exactly the same form when it's part of the car, like a vehicle based weapon. It's a very nice figure. I'll bring it in so you can try and see some more of the detail. I do worry a little bit for future that the rubberized pieces here, what I like struts, they flex obviously as you can move his legs joints, but I do wonder how they're going to last up over time, that they're not going to perish and split, but we shall see in time, of course. Very nicely detailed on the chest and very nicely detailed on the leg sections. There's a lot of moulding there, even on the knee joints, that you've got a knee movement, you've got a brace or what would be like a suspension piece what moves as you move the leg. Very nicely detailed, very poseable figure. You can get it in lots of positions. If that doesn't sound a bit pervy, I would definitely recommend it. It's fantastic. The head sculpt's great. It's got no light piping, which I know a lot of figures and a lot of you sort of like to use, although it looks like it has. That it's got a red piece, I don't know if that will pick that up in this light, on the back, which I thought would transfer light piping. Unfortunately it doesn't. His eyes don't shine at all. But other than that, a really great figure, and I'd recommend it. This is John 35. Hope you enjoyed that review. I'll be back soon with some more. All the best.